The story begins with a scene set 17 years in the past. About 226 miles from French Guiana, deep in the ocean, we see a chain of islands. On one of those islands, a massive laboratory had been built for experimenting on something very special. Inside this lab, hundreds of scientists were working on modifying dinosaur DNA. They were crossbreeding different dinosaurs to create entirely new species. But today, while attempting one of these experiments, a scientist accidentally left a packet of chocolate behind. It got blown into the mechanism of a bulletproof door. The door malfunctioned, and suddenly, the emergency alarm started blaring throughout the lab. Why? Because behind that door, they had been holding back a massive dinosaur. Since the door could no longer close, the dinosaur broke free in seconds, wreaking havoc and nearly destroying the entire laboratory. Several scientists were killed in the chaos. These lab-created dinosaurs, altered through DNA modification, looked terrifying. Now, we shift to the present day. We learn that 32 years ago, scientists had brought dinosaurs back to Earth through various experiments. But the current Earth environment was not suitable for them. Oxygen levels in the air were too low, and temperatures from the sun were too high. Dinosaurs couldn't survive anywhere on Earth. However, around certain islands near Ecuador, some dinosaurs still lived safely because the local environment there suited them perfectly. But humans were strictly forbidden from going to those islands. Next, we see New York City. In the middle of the city, a massive herbivorous dinosaur had fallen ill, causing a huge traffic jam. Caught in this jam was a man named Martin. Martin was an advisor to one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in America. That day, he was meeting a woman named Bennett. Bennett got into his car and asked, "Why are you looking for me? And who told you about me?" Martin replied that a former army officer named Paulo had spoken very highly of her, saying she was extremely skilled at finding anything. He told her, "I actually have a job for you, a job that pays so much money you'd never have to work again for the rest of your life." Bennett asked, "What's the job?" Martin then took her to meet a biologist. Through a short video presentation, we learned that all dinosaurs across the world have been dying because they can't adapt to the environment. Scientists haven't been able to save them. This biologist's name was Henry. He ran a small amusement park that displayed dinosaur skeletons. Martin revealed that they wanted to develop a medicine to cure all human heart diseases. But to make it, they needed the blood of 3 dinosaur species: the land-walking Titanosaurus, the ocean-swimming Mosasaurus, and the flying Quetzalcoatlus. These 3 were the largest dinosaur species in land, water, and air. The medicine required the blood of the largest species because these creatures had lifespans well over 100 years. And the bigger the animal, the bigger its heart. Their mission was to collect blood from live dinosaurs, because once a dinosaur died, oxygen would separate from the blood and it would clot, making it useless. For this task, Martin offered them $10 million. Hearing that much money, Bennett immediately agreed, but Henry, being a simple scientist, was initially terrified. After thinking it over for a while, he also agreed. The group then boarded a private plane headed to Paramaribo, the capital of Suriname. Bennett was going there to bring along an old friend for the mission. Her friend's name was Duncan. Both she and Duncan had once served in the US Army. However, after they arrived, Duncan suddenly said, "I can't go on this mission. I have some personal matters to take care of." Martin and Bennett tried to convince him in many ways, but it was no use. Duncan absolutely refused to join the mission. Then Bennett told Martin, "If you can double that $10 million, I will convince Duncan to agree." Hearing this, Martin realized that Bennett was actually planning to increase the money. But it didn't matter to Martin at all, because once he got the dinosaur blood, he could do business worth more than $1 trillion. Besides, this whole operation was completely illegal. No one would willingly agree to do it, because if any country's Coast Guard caught them, they'd be in huge trouble. So, Martin agreed to pay $20 million. Right away, Bennett formed a team. Alongside Duncan, they brought in another Special Forces officer named Bobby for security. Finally, they set sail toward the islands near Ecuador on Duncan's boat. On the way, we see that Bobby carried neurotoxin poison for protection. In case the dinosaurs went out of control, the toxin could instantly incapacitate them. But Henry, the scientist, was strongly against this plan. Killing the dinosaurs was never their intention. They only planned to quietly take the blood and leave. For this blood collection, Martin's company had developed a special device that could be attached to the barrel of a gun and fired. The small bottle on the device had a large needle that could pierce through the dinosaur's 4-inch thick skin and suck the blood. Then the bottle would shoot up like a rocket and return to them by opening a tiny parachute. Seeing the device, Bennett said, "I will be the one to fire it." Then we see a small boat in the middle of the ocean where a man named Michael was traveling with his 2 daughters, Tina and Lynn, heading to Cape Town, the capital of South Africa. Also on the boat was Tina's boyfriend, Xavier. They were all having a great time on the sea journey, but Michael did not like Xavier at all. He asked his daughter, "Why did you like this boy?" Tina replied, "Dad, I just know he would do anything for me, and that's enough reason for me to love him." While they were talking, Tina suddenly saw something huge rushing toward them in the distant ocean. They all thought it might be a pod of dolphins or a large whale, but to their surprise, a gigantic prehistoric dinosaur named Mosasaurus appeared right in front of their small boat. Before they could react, the huge dinosaur rammed into their boat. They couldn't understand why the animal would attack, since the boat was clearly not food. Anyway, the Mosasaurus overturned their boat with one hit. Michael and his daughters fell into the sea, but Xavier was trapped inside the boat. Michael quickly told his daughters to get back on the boat and struggled to save Xavier from inside. Oddly, the giant dinosaur circled around them, but did not attack. Meanwhile, inside another boat, Bennett and her team were calmly proceeding with their mission. But Bennett knew very well that this mission was going to be extremely dangerous. So, she sat down with Dr. Henry and planned out several strategies for the mission. That night passed, and the next morning, Duncan suddenly received multiple Mayday signals on their radio. Normally, Mayday signals are sent when ships or planes are in trouble and need help. Upon hearing the signals, Duncan called a meeting with everyone on the boat. He said, "About 28 miles in the opposite direction, someone is repeatedly sending out radio distress calls." Bennett immediately said, "We have to go rescue them right now." But Bobby said, "No, we have found the Mosasaurus. It might take us up to 2 hours to collect its blood. We can rescue those people after that. The water temperature is warm enough, so hopefully no one will die in 2 hours." Martin agreed with Bobby because his main goal was to get the dinosaur blood. But Duncan insisted, "No, we have to save those people in danger first. We can find the Mosasaurus again later, after 2 hours of extra searching." Since Duncan owned the boat, everyone obeyed his order and turned the boat around to rescue the sinking people. Meanwhile, Michael and his family waited on the overturned boat for help. From afar, they saw Duncan's ship approaching. Within moments, Duncan rescued Michael and his entire family. However, Duncan was very angry with Michael for coming to such a dangerous sea with his 2 small daughters. After the rescue, they finished their conversation and continued their mission. They scanned a large area around their boat and saw a massive Mosasaurus approaching. When Michael and his family realized that the creature they barely escaped from was the very dinosaur Bennett's team was hunting, they got very scared. But Martin gave them false reassurance, saying there was a human settlement on an island ahead. He promised they would soon drop Michael's family there, so there was no need to worry. Meanwhile, that huge marine dinosaur had come right beside their ship. Everyone on board became alert and started following the dinosaur. Bennett secured herself at the front of the ship first. Then, armed with a gun, she prepared to collect blood from the Mosasaurus. But, with the dinosaur's first hit, the ship's condition worsened. Bennett almost fell off the ship, and the dinosaur even tried hard to swallow her. At the last moment, Dr. Henry saved Bennett. Then Bennett resumed aiming the gun at the dinosaur. She couldn't shoot right away because unless she fired from within 10 meters, the needle on the bottle wouldn't pierce the dinosaur's skin. After waiting for some time, she finally made the perfect shot and collected a small amount of blood from the huge dinosaur. They quickly stored the blood in liquid nitrogen. "Here," Dr. Henry told Bennett, "have you thought about it? The company we are handing this blood over to will make heart medicines from it, but they will sell those at very high prices. Wouldn't it be better if we open source this blood? That way, no single company will hold a patent on this valuable medicine, and everyone in the world could benefit from the dinosaur's precious blood." But Bennett knew she wouldn't gain anything by doing that, so she refused. Before this story could end, they noticed that a type of dinosaur called Spinosaurus, which can live both on land and in water, had surrounded their ship. Seeing this, Henry became extremely afraid, because he knew that Spinosaurus helped the huge Mosasaurus accept them. Seeing all this, Bobby became very angry. He took his gun and started firing one shot after another, targeting the Spinosaurus. From above, Duncan repeatedly warned Bobby to be careful, But in his anger, Bobby forgot about his own safety. Suddenly, a Spinosaurus bit Bobby and dragged him into the sea. In front of Duncan's eyes, he lost one of his teammates. Right after, the massive Mosasaurus attacked their ship again. During this attack, Lynn almost fell into the sea, but her father saved her once again. Seeing all this, Duncan realized that to escape the huge dinosaur, they had to move to shallower water because Mosasaurus cannot enter shallow water. With that in mind, they steered their ship closer to the island. On the way, after witnessing such a terrifying dinosaur attack, Michael told his daughter Tina to send a Mayday signal for help. As usual, Tina was screaming on the radio. But Martin hurried there quickly because if any government Coast Guard came to rescue them, their entire mission would fail. He pushed Tina to stop her, and she fell into the sea with one push. She screamed for help from Martin, but Martin did not help her. The girl fell into the ocean. Seeing this, her boyfriend jumped in without hesitation to save Tina. Meanwhile, the ship was slowly moving toward the coral reef. To survive, Michael jumped into the sea with his younger daughter. Meanwhile, the huge dinosaur again tried to destroy the ship. But thanks to Martin's experience, they reached a coastal area. The Mosasaurus left them behind, but their boat was damaged beyond repair. Still, they were very happy to be alive. Michael and his family, who had jumped into the sea, reunited on the other side of the ocean. Meanwhile, while a girl named Mary was unloading some important items from Duncan's ship, a huge Spinosaurus suddenly attacked her from behind without her noticing. Poor Mary died right before Duncan's eyes. Before they could properly start the mission, they lost two of their colleagues. Meanwhile, Michael and his family climbed up from the sea over the hills. They came upon a cave and were amazed by the breathtaking beauty of the entire island. At the same time, Duncan became extremely depressed after losing his two teammates. But Bennett told him, "Look, we have come to a real battlefield. There is no room for us to be discouraged here. We have taken the blood of one dinosaur already, so let's quickly move into the jungle and finish this mission by collecting blood from the remaining two dinosaurs." So, without wasting any more time, they set off into the jungle, but they had no idea how they would get out of there. Then Bennett reassured them, saying, "Don't worry, I've arranged a rescue team as backup for our mission. They are constantly monitoring the boat's radio signal. If there's no movement on the signal for 24 hours, they'll come with a helicopter to rescue us. So, we have to collect the blood from the other two dinosaurs within the next 24 hours, and then wait for help at a high point." Next, we see Michael's family, where Tina is furious at Martin because he saw her fall into the water, but didn't come to save her. Meanwhile, Bennett and his whole team were crossing a small creek. Bennett advised everyone to move carefully and cautiously. But Martin said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to die here." Hearing this, Henry said, "That's a huge misconception. Intelligent species don't last long. Look at the dinosaurs. They weren't smart, yet they ruled the Earth for 160 million years. We humans have only been around for about 250,000 years. And with the way we've developed weapons, I doubt humanity will survive more than 1,000,000 years." Again, we see Michael's family who believed Martin's false reassurance as truth. They thought there might be a village on the island, so they kept moving forward to find it. Along the way, Lena spots a small dinosaur and feeds it a little chocolate. Meanwhile, Bennett's team had progressed quite far. Suddenly, Martin notices a huge wrecked helicopter hanging from a tree. Inside, the pilot's skeleton is still clearly visible. We also see Michael thanking his daughter's boyfriend late at night, because his bravery is the reason his daughter is still alive. He realizes his daughter actually chose a good guy. Michael's younger daughter, Lena, sees the cute little dinosaur again. She pets it like a cat, calls it over, and feeds it some food. The dinosaur then curls up and sleeps right next to her like a cat. The next morning, we see Bennett and his team moving through a vast grassy jungle. They proceed very carefully because any monster dinosaur could be hiding there. Soon, they spot a massive Titanosaurus dinosaur with a long tail, created through crossbreeding. This huge herbivore poses no threat, so Dr. Henry is thrilled to see it up close. He even touches it, describing it as one of the best moments of his life. While the two dinosaurs are busy romancing, Bennett easily collects the Titanosaurus's blood with his gun. They are very happy since just one more task remains to finish the mission. Meanwhile, Michael is moving forward with his entire family when that same cute little dinosaur follows them. Lena had adopted the dinosaur, so she picks it up and puts it in her bag. Suddenly, someone slips, and they all fall off a high cliff. But luckily, no one is seriously hurt. There, across the river, they find a small broken-down house with a boat nearby. Tina bravely decides to take the boat, thinking it will quickly take them to a human settlement via the river. But they didn't know Martin had lied to them. Tina carefully crosses the river and reaches the broken house, only to see a huge T-Rex sleeping nearby in the jungle. Her father and boyfriend tell her to come back, but Tina bravely enters the broken house. Inside, she sees the boat is long broken, but luckily, there's an emergency raft. She carefully pulls the raft's bag and starts bringing it out. Suddenly, the raft makes a noise opening, waking the massive T-Rex. They quickly get on the raft and try hard to save themselves, but the monstrous dinosaur doesn't give up easily. While chasing them, the dinosaur capsizes their boat. They take shelter behind a large rock, but unfortunately, little Lena gets stuck right in front of the dinosaur. When the dinosaur picks up the raft in its mouth, Lena seizes the opportunity to run to her father. They all survive. Meanwhile, Bennett and his team reach the top of a huge mountain. Midway up, they find a nest of bird-like castle-coatless dinosaurs. But they can't directly get blood from these birds because they're about the size of an F-16 fighter jet and fly so fast, it's almost impossible to aim at them. So Bennett, Dr. Henry, and a guy named David help by descending down the mountain. On top, Martin and Duncan hold ropes to protect them. After some time descending, finally Bennett and Henry enter the birds' cave. They are amazed by the place because it looks like some ancient temple. Anyway, they came here mainly to collect blood from the casual dinosaur eggs. They quickly draw blood from inside the eggs. Outside, David is hammering metal spikes into the mountainside to help them climb back up, when suddenly the huge bird flies in. The bird attacks them with rocks near its eggs. Seeing this, David, who's hanging outside, throws stones at the bird to protect them. The giant bird then starts chasing David to eat him. Duncan and Martin quickly pull David up with ropes to save him. But at the last moment, the bird swallows David alive. To escape the bird's attack, Henry falls from inside the cave, and the blood bottle falls with him. The bottle rockets upwards, but the rope snaps, and Henry falls straight down. Poor Bennett is deeply upset, but luckily Henry lands in a pond after hitting several tree leaves and survives unharmed. Immediately, the other 3 team members come down from above and are overjoyed to see Dr. Henry alive. Finally, their mission is complete. However, only 4 of them survived, while 3 colleagues were lost. Next, we see Michael and his family paddling a small raft until they arrive in front of a huge abandoned laboratory. This was the lab where the dinosaurs were modified at the start of the story. Meanwhile, Bennett and his team reach the laboratory. There, they reunite with Michael's family, and everyone is very happy. But Tina is furious at Martin for not saving her when she fell into the ocean. However, there's no time for fighting, so everyone calms down. Martin carefully keeps the blood from the 3 dinosaurs. Suddenly, the lights around the solar-powered lab turn on, and before they can react properly, several strange bird-like dinosaurs attack them. They all scatter and flee quickly. Michael's family hides inside a supermarket, and the cute little dinosaur comes looking for Lena again. But another large dinosaur is still chasing them, so they try to escape through a tunnel. Outside, the dinosaur attacks Bennett, who hides under a car to survive. But Martin gets into the car and starts driving. Poor Bennett runs into the jungle to save himself and sees that the cover of an underground tunnel has been removed, and a dinosaur has entered inside. Bennett is very worried because Michael and his entire family are in that tunnel. Meanwhile, the rescue helicopter arrives. Bennett can't decide whether to signal the helicopter or save the kids, so he sends Dr. Henry to signal the helicopter and goes off to save the kids from the dinosaurs. Soon, Dr. Henry sees that the rescue helicopter is destroyed by a huge, ugly, modified dinosaur. Bennett and Duncan arrive to rescue Michael's family. They slowly come out of the tunnel, but the dinosaur approaches them. Bennett shoots and kills the dinosaur. Meanwhile, Martin is driving toward the shore, so Duncan quickly leads everyone out. If Martin reaches the boat first, he might leave them behind. At the end of the tunnel is an iron door where they get trapped, unsure how to escape. Little Lena risks her life to open the door, but a huge modified dinosaur appears right in front of her. Martin tries to escape in the car, but the dinosaur grabs him and eats him alive. However, Martin's hand cuts off, and the collected dinosaur blood falls to the ground. Bennett quickly retrieves the blood bags, but wonders how they will survive the huge dinosaur. Duncan decides to sacrifice himself by distracting the dinosaur with a light. He tells Bennett to take the boat and get the others to safety. Bennett doesn't want to leave Duncan, but Duncan insists, telling him to save the kids and not to worry about him. Reluctantly, Bennett takes the boat and heads out to sea. Duncan is killed by the huge dinosaur, but moments later, they see a fire gun lit inside the jungle. Realizing Duncan managed to survive somehow, they turn the boat around and go to rescue him. Finally, they leave the terrifying island and head out into the vast ocean. Little Lena is with them, along with the cute little dinosaur. Everything is going well. At the end, Dr. Henry asks Bennett, "So now, who do we give the blood to?" Bennett replies, "We'll give it to everyone, because advanced healthcare is a right for all." With that, today's story ends here. Let me know how you liked it in the comments. For now, goodbye.